Good morning. Welcome to First People's House on this nationally historic day. I am Susan Breau, and I'm the Dean of the Faculty of Law at the University of Victoria, and it is my absolute joy and pride to see so many people here who are here to celebrate the launch of the JD program. I first of all want to welcome our elders, and in a moment I will be calling Skip to give welcome to the territory. I want to welcome Sheila Rogers, the Chancellor of the University. I want to mention the chiefs who are here, many chiefs who have come from across the province and the country, members of the provincial government who are here in force, including Melanie Mark, who will be giving an address to the group. I want to mention the Board of Governors. I want to mention our fantastic, phenomenal donors without whom we would not be here. But I think you will all agree that this day belongs to that group over there. Welcome to the students. We acknowledge with respect the Lekwungen-speaking peoples in whose traditional territories the university stands, and the Songhees, the Esquimalt, and Wasanich peoples whose historical relationship with this land continues to this day. I want to call on my friend, and I believe we are becoming friends, aren't we, Skip? Dr. Skip Dick, who is a member of the Songhees First Nation, who has an honorary doctorate from this university, and who is going to give us the official welcome to territory. Thank you very much.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My dear friends, relatives, I'm just overwhelmed that today, this century, this time in this world, that we're able to do two things right now. That first, I feel like I'm honoring the old people by carrying forward the traditional welcome. To our dignitaries, both chief and from the universities and the provincials, all you dignitaries, I'm so happy that we're in a room that's modeled after 15 homes in our South Island district, all built on respect. and everybody's the same. We have that unofficial peg on the wall that all your political feelings, bad feelings, hard feelings, hang it up there. If you want it, take it back. But we're all the same here. And the house of teachings of our people is built on respect. We have the Kwakwala nations up in the north, New Charlotte on the west side, and the South Island on the south. We're surrounded by respect for each other. We understand it. I don't want to be remiss, but my name is Lachichalak. It's given to me by my family, so I know my land and my family. The wonderful thing like that with your name and my name, I can go anywhere in the world and I know I belong somewhere. When our young people come back to university, we don't want them to forget that. We want them to be in a home away from home, so that when they go home, they haven't lost their values. We want to make sure that they teach us their values so we can respect them. So it's no wonder that we have such a wonderful step in history. It's really wonderful when you're looking at, from my side, from the dark side to the light side of the world. It's really wonderful that it's really happening in our time. I just want to say one thing, that in the harbor where we had a longhouse that welcomed people from all over the world, the paddlers that came in all their big canoes, we would make sure that we house them for the time that they need, feed them, comfort them, and make sure that they were welcomed. The same thing that's happening today is that all you wonderful people that are here that took the time to be here, I'm really thankful that you've taken that time, and so I wanted to say welcome to our Lekwungen territory. Aichka, thank you. Pause for applause.
Well, how do you follow those words? It's almost impossible. I just want to say that I am truly, like Skip, overwhelmed, and I do feel that we are crossing into the light. Like you, Skip, and I've heard you say this before, we finally have hope. We finally have hope that the world is actually changing. But this is a very long story, and John already is going to cover his eyes here as I start. This idea of an Indigenous law degree is, how many years is from 1995? The first formulation of this idea from John Burroughs was in 1995. So what is this a story of? It's a story of persistence. It's a story of grit. It's a story of never giving up on your ideals. And most important for the culture of the University of Victoria, it's a story of partnership, collegiality, working together as teams to make sure this vision was realized. From our chancellor to the president to the administration of this university, to all my faculty that are sitting over there, to our marvelous staff, to our students, they had a vision. Now, I also want to point out someone who's here, and I think he's hiding. Where is he hiding? Jeremy Weber. Okay, so the story moves on from 1995 to a beach in Sydney. And I hear the two chaps were sitting, to use my British expression, sorry, I was in England for the last 19 years, so I hear the two chaps were sitting on a beach talking about philosophy and life. And those two chaps were Jeremy Weber and John Burroughs back in 2005, who decided at that point that they would take John's dream and realize it into a reality. And then it went through two separate law faculty reviews, and in each one of those reviews, it was recommended this program be commenced. And again, it went through university processes and discussions with faculty and design a program, but there's one other character to this story who made this a reality, Dr. Val Napoleon. She had the vision of the way the Indigenous law program could work, how Indigenous law could develop through the study. And through her directorship of the Indigenous Law Research Unit, she saw how, and this is very important to me, how education and research could be joined together. And so John and Val formed a formidable partnership that continues to this day, and I think that it will continue to grow and strengthen. And the evidence of that is that, do you know, we have exceeded our enrollment? We have 26 new students in the program. Let's have a round of applause for that. Now, this 4-year program, which includes field school, placement in the community, this isn't just about action in a university, but action in community, developing Indigenous law in consultation with the elders, with the chiefs, with communities. And that is what's so exciting about this 4-year degree. But we also had to do another step, and I'm looking at the members of the British Columbia government. You got it. You understood how important it was to fund this program for the full 4 years to enable these students to study, and we are eternally grateful. But there was another step. The other step was that some of these students have financial issues. I did when I studied. I'm sure many of you did when you went to university. And thanks to our brilliant fundraisers, we have a number of organizations, particularly Van City, the McConnell Foundation, and Inspire, who've not only funded our research unit, but have also provided for scholarships. And finally, the amazing law firms that have also contributed, and many of whom are here today, and we thank you so much. Now, as I said, this takes persistence, this takes patience, but I have to say one piece of the good story that I, as the newest member of this team, have been able to see. And I was able to report to the university that this program has well and truly been embedded in the Faculty of Law at the University of Victoria. I already know it is a huge and substantial addition to our program. It's a huge and substantial success, and the students both in the JD and the JID have truly integrated and understand they are part of the world's first Indigenous law degree, so that all the students, all the faculty, all of the staff are committed to the success of this program. Now, we have a number of people who are going to speak today. That's all for me. I'm now going to turn over and become my mistress of ceremonies. And the first speaker is the Honorable Melanie Mark, the Minister of Advanced Education Skills Training for the British Columbia government. She's been a lifelong champion of children, youth, and her community. She is Nishka, Gitsan, Cree, Ojibwe, French, and Scottish, and a proud mother of 2 girls. She has spent her career working for social justice across this province. She has volunteer experience for multiple community organizations like Big Sisters and the Urban Native Youth Association. She co-founded the Vancouver Aboriginal Community Policing Centre, working with Native Court Workers and Counselling Association. I cannot think of a better speaker to launch our program than Melanie Mark, and I'd ask her to come up. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Sim Gagat, Sigidamanak, Gubud Wiltsuk. My name is Melanie Mark. My Niska name is Lahaikwiskak, which means eagle that passes on to the next generation. I want to acknowledge Dr. Skipdick. Thank you for the welcome and acknowledgement of your beautiful territory that we are gathering on today, and the Lekwungen-speaking people in the shared territory of the Songhees, the Esquimalt, and WSÁNEĆ First Nations. It is imperative that we follow protocol. It is imperative that truth and reconciliation is in everything that we do. Being a politician is an adventure. You never know what you're going to do in a day. You never know which room of people that you're going to walk into, that you have so much respect for. And when I look in this room, I see advocates. I see dignitaries. Chief Bobby Joe is here. Bobby Joseph and his leadership. The Attorney General's here. The Minister of Finance, who you can thank for writing the big check, because you know that we're not invited unless we bring a check. But that's not what this is about, and I'm not trying to be smug. We formed government 14 months ago, and it was easy to say yes to your vision, Dr. Burrows and Dr. Napoleon. Great things happened in the 90s, some things in between. Sorry, I'm feeling comfortable in the longhouse. I signed up to be a politician because I wanted change. I signed up to be a voice for people in Vancouver, Mount Pleasant, and the province because I wanted change. And this program, this world-class, first of its kind, Indigenous law program right here at UVic, doesn't that sound good? Yeah. Is right here. And it's because we're paddling together. I see the president here. I brought my tissue because this is an emotional day. When you talk about perseverance and grit, I know a thing or two about resilience. But it's about being knocked down and getting back up again. And the students are gonna get a crash course in that. I know you're 3 weeks in, so enjoy. Enjoy the adventure. You're the first, but you're not going to be the last. You're trailblazers. You're going to bring in the Ayuk laws, our Niska Ayuk laws, our common bowl. One heart, one pathway, one nation. When Chief Dick acknowledged our elders and where they came from, it's because we are resilient Indigenous people, and our laws have never gone away. Today is about affirming our place as Indigenous people in Canada, around the world, and the unique, distinct nations of this province. I see the Métis here in your sashes. I can see the weight on your shoulders. But we're so proud of you, because what you're going to do is make change for environmental law, our interpretation of child Indigenous law. Because it will be about our children, it will be about our land. It will be about our future and what we're relying on, because reconciliation means nothing without action. 3 of my grandparents went to residential school. I am so honored to have a place where I am today to bring a new and open door for yourselves. So I want to thank everyone that's been in the canoe. Minister Fraser's here. There is so much love in this room. There are so many people that want to paddle with you. But is it going to be easy? Change is never easy. Fighting for rights is never easy. But we've won that fight as Indigenous people. Now we're just going to fight for more change that's going to build healthier communities. So thank you to all the students that are here today. Thank you to all the partners, the leaders, the champions, and congratulations to the University of Victoria for putting reconciliation on the map. Hawa.
Okay, that's it. I've got Kleenex under the podium. I'm starting now too, so I think that's wonderful, by the way, because that's the way I feel, straight from the heart. This is a fabulous day, and the joy in this room is just incredible. I should say that I neglected to mention, and I apologize, the Victoria Foundation and the Sisters of St. Anne, who should also be mentioned because they have funded our field school as well, and we thank them so much. Now, I don't think you're going to cry, but I think I'm going to call on the president of the university. I'm already telling him he can't cry. You can if you like. The president of the university, who has a very long history and knowledge of this program, Jamie Cassels.
Okay, thank you, Susan. I already did my crying while the minister was speaking. What wonderful words, and how heartfelt, and thank you for your words, and thank you for your support. So good morning, everyone, and let me add my own very warm welcome to the University of Victoria, nested in this beautiful part of our country in the territory of the Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanich peoples. It's always interesting to me how place does animate an organization and an institution. And Dr. Dick, this place and the culture of the people who inhabit this place has helped us as a university to develop our identity and to develop some of our commitments around Indigenous programming. Today marks an absolutely wonderful day and a historic day for Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities across the country and around the world as we gather to celebrate the launch of the world's first joint degree program in common law and Indigenous law. This unprecedented program will have a transformational impact on communities in Canada and around the world. As I look around the hall today, I'm so happy to see members of the UVic community, our partners in the community, our funders. I see the elders who support and guide us with their wisdom, the students who are starting down the pathway that has been developed and laid out by Dr. Boros and Dr. Napoleon through their vision. I see our Chancellor, Sheila Rogers, many members of the Board of Governors who help us to stay accountable and who help us to respond to the most pressing needs of our time in the way that an educational institution can do that. I see our partners from Indigenous nations. I see leaders of Indigenous nations, and I see representatives of local, provincial, and federal governments who have helped us with this program. So that said, to the government of British Columbia and the many members of cabinet who I see here today, Minister James, Minister Fraser, Minister Eby, and Minister Mark, and through you to Premier John Horgan, thank you for your vision. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your support, and thank you for the money. We could not do this program without all of those things, the vision and the support and the funding that you have brought to the table. I guarantee to you this is going to be a huge success, but this is incredibly novel as well, and it took courage on your part to make a bet, to place a bet on the vision that John and Val have set out. And I just want to spend a moment telling you it's a good bet. This program is nested in a university that does have an honest and authentic commitment to the process of reconciliation and to the process of nation building for our country. For at least 40 years now, this university has been developing programs that are designed to contribute to the lifting up of Indigenous communities and to the creation of partnerships that will respond to the needs both of those communities and the needs of our country as we evolve and set the terms upon which we're going to learn how to live together in a better way. In areas involving language, culture, and history, the University of Victoria has led the way in partnership with Indigenous communities locally and across the country in relation to language revitalization, empowering members of those communities to develop programs that are going to help to reaffirm and lift up the language and culture of those communities. In areas involving social, economic, and professional capacity building, our schools of social work and child and youth care, public health and nursing, all have programs, Indigenous programs that are designed to be responsive and in partnership. Economic capacity building. Many of you may have heard about one of our most recent programs, the Aboriginal Canadian Entrepreneurs Program, in partnership with 26 communities around British Columbia and across Canada, developing culturally appropriate ways to lift up those communities and to develop prosperous and sustainable futures for those communities. That program just winning a global award a few months ago. So I tell you this not to brag about the University of Victoria, although a president's job is to tell some of the good news stories, but to assure you that this will be a legacy program of which you can be so proud. And Minister, I hope you are feeling proud today. Your determination right from the very beginning when you took on this portfolio to harness the power of higher education to make a contribution to Indigenous communities and to that process of nation building has been inspiring, and I hope that you're seeing some of the results of those efforts. So thank you to the other members of Cabinet here. Thank you so much through you to Premier John Horgan. Thank you for that. So we understand that reconciliation is about mending the harms and injustices of the past. It's also about shaping a better future together. And while there's much heavy lifting in front of us, this program, I think, truly is a historic moment in the evolution of the lifting up of Indigenous communities and Indigenous law, but also the lifting up of those who are not Indigenous as we evolve that conversation about how are we going to live together in a good way and in a good place. Which brings me to the students who have just enrolled in this program. Thank you for that. I want to welcome you to our university. I want to tell you that we want you to succeed more than you can imagine. We want to support you. We can hardly wait to see what you're going to accomplish. So thank you very much, everyone.
We just paused for a moment while our latest guests are seated, and you're very welcome. I now have the privilege to introduce Dr. Val Napoleon. Val is one of the most gentle, kind people I have ever met. And one of the real welcomes that she gave me was that I got to go to her grandson's birthday party. And I just thought that was the kindest thing. You know, when you're a stranger in a new town and somebody invites you to a birthday party, that's a good thing. Val is our Law Foundation Professor of Aboriginal Justice and Governance. And Val when she speaks about this topic. And by the way, a little commercial, although it's sold out completely, we're going to get to hear from John and Val tonight to talk about their philosophies. But right now, I would like to call on Val to give her greeting. Thank you very much.
You know, we've been talking and dreaming about this day for so long, it almost doesn't quite feel real yet, but here we are. This is really happening. And you know something? The ancestors are here with us, the old ones. All of our relatives who kept Indigenous law alive wherever possible against whatever obstacles, those embers of hope, those embers that are now passed on that we can fan into a program and are fanning into a program here that we're all going to learn from, that we're all going to share. Stephen Augustine said that history has caused the canoe to be tipped over. And Indigenous people have retrieved that canoe and have rebuilt it. And that canoe, it's a different one than what we had before, but it's still an Indigenous canoe. It's still there for all of us to take into the future. And that's part, you're all part of this, all of these amazing students. What I have the honor of doing right now is introducing one of our extraordinary students, Colby Lizotte. So Colby joins us from Fort Vermilion in northern Alberta. She's a member of the Métis Nation of Alberta. And she's going to speak to us on behalf of our amazing class, all of whom bring a depth and a breadth of experience and insight to this day and to the next 4 years. So Colby?
Good morning, everyone. It is an honor to be speaking in front of you all today. My name is Colby Lizotte, and I am Cree Métis from Fort Vermilion, which is a small community in Alberta's far north. It is located on the banks of the mighty Peace River on Treaty 8 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis. Fort Vermilion is an Indigenous community of approximately 700 people that is surrounded by 4 nations: Tall Cree First Nation, Beaver First Nation, Little Red River Cree Nation, and Denetaw First Nation. It is also close to the Paddle Prairie Métis settlement. I am very thankful and proud to call it my home, and it is a major factor behind why I am here today. Like many Indigenous communities, however, we were and continue to be hit hard by colonization. We are not voiceless, and we do not need to be spoken for. What we do need is to be heard. Our location and population means that we face a lack of resources, educational, legal, etc. Despite all this, I will never forget where I come from. I am a member of my community before I am a lawyer. My dad loves the land, so my 3 younger siblings and I spent a lot of time outside growing up. Through the land, he was able to provide for his family, like his dad was able to, and his dad, and so on. Actually, he's probably out hunting right now. But today, we are lucky if the land that my family has spent generations surviving on has not been cleared or heavily exploited. University was a foreign concept to me. I started to really think about the possibility of it only in high school, but I was hesitant. I could sense the doubt from others when I disclosed my plans for the future, but I could sense it the loudest within myself. A degree meant I had to leave my family, my community, and all that was familiar to live in the city, a place I am still not completely comfortable in. However, I decided to take the leap. My family dropped me off in downtown Edmonton at MacEwan University residence in September 2012. I remember I didn't even know how to cross the road at the crosswalk. I remember that just after I arrived, they found the remains of Amber Tuckero near the city. I remember trying so hard to make friends with people I had nothing in common with. One specific experience stuck with me. At a social event, a girl I had just met handed me a bottle of alcohol and said, "Here, I know you can chug this. You're an Indian." I phoned my mom crying almost every day. She would say that she would come get me as soon as she could, but something inside me urged me not to let doubt win. Throughout this journey, I experienced the loss of a loved one and my own denial of justice. But my time away at university was tough, but I made the 7-hour drive home whenever I could. As soon as I put my pen down after my last final in April, I headed home. I actually don't even think I gave anyone the chance to miss me. After I completed my undergraduate degree, I moved home for good, or so I thought. I'll just apply to law and write the LSAT, I crazily thought to myself one day. I have to at least try it. My hope for the program is that it not only increases the amount of Indigenous lawyers in Canada, but also reworks the system. I hope that Indigenous peoples will be able to trust all facets of the criminal justice system and that injustices done in the past and still occurring today inside and outside of Indigenous communities are remedied and prevented from continuing on into the future. I'm looking forward to learning about the territory that I am a visitor on and those who have always existed here. Reconciliation has different meanings to different people. If you read through the Facebook comments on any news story concerning Indigenous peoples, it is difficult to believe that Canada is taking reconciliation seriously. I believe that Amanda Vick, one of my classmates, articulated the concept of reconciliation best. Reconciliation does not have an end goal, it is a process. Truth must come before reconciliation. Two particular instances come to mind when I think about truth. I recall once sitting at the kitchen table with my dad and doing my social studies homework. I asked him if he knew who John A. Macdonald was. He replied, "That's the son of a blank who hung Louis Riel." More recently, while working at the elementary school at home, I showed one of the kids a picture of a chief and asked who it was. "That's a mascot," they said. I hope that Indigenous children can grow up learning their own histories and truth. I hope that through this program, we can also do that here. I know that I'm here for a purpose greater than myself. Thank you.
Colby, I think you're the reason why we're all here, is that you and the other students are the reason that this is such a complete joy today. And you've moved us all greatly, and I cannot thank you enough, and I cannot thank Val enough for inspiring this generation to come. I do believe that we are starting, I agree with you, and I agree with you, the truth has to come first. We're starting on a process, and we have to remind the federal government that they need to be part of this process, and we will be doing that over the next few months. And we're delighted that federal senators have attended today, and they've heard your wise words. And so now we have a very special and formal part of this ceremony. I would like to invite Dr. John Burrows and Dr. Val Napoleon to begin our gifting ceremony.
Bushu Nidinwe Maganidok, Niji Nishnabeg Nich Marzig, Migwech Biajaig Nungum, Giganos Indigenous, Nea Shim Negabing and Donjaba, Nigigan Dodam. It's such a beautiful opportunity that we have to celebrate and gather and live a dream and understand that our dreams make life. And I'm grateful for those that have chosen to make this a part of the way they're going to proceed through the world. We've received so many gifts already. The support that we have from the local communities is so deeply felt. And I'm always grateful for the kind words of welcome and respect that are given to us here. I'm thankful for the government and the gifts that you've brought to us to enable us to make this a reality. I'm thankful so much to the donors who have been just a key part of what we're involved in here. But the students have brought their gifts. And in our traditions, in respect, there's a reciprocity that's involved. And so we want to gift you. And we want to try to do that without end as you're associated with the University of Victoria. Not only in what we give you at this moment, but in the way that we interact with you and in the way that you are in the world and are continue to be a part of us once you leave this space. We're deeply appreciative of your gifts. Migiwewin, as we talk about in Anishinaabemowin. Those gifts are bright and they are beautiful. The first gifts that we want to give are from our places. My daughter has made some gifts for you. She's beaded for you. And in Anishinaabe, when we talk about beads as money doom and sainsug, which is little spirits. What beads are is sewing those little spirits, putting them together in patterns to communicate beauty and joy. And I hope that when you receive these gifts, you feel the analogy of that for your life. That these have been made with love, they've been made with joy, they've been made in a pattern to pass along a tradition that communicates how to organize the seen and the unseen. And so as you receive these earrings and these ties, I hope you look upon them as patterns, that you remember that these patterns that you're going to be learning in the law are something that comes from our community, and they're meant to be taken into our lives. And you're going to create new patterns as a result of the little spirits that you're going to be given, and weave and create something that will bring joy, order, happiness to those that you involve yourself with. So those beads are an analogy for you, and they're an analogy for law. And it's with patterns that we make law. We look to not arbitrariness, but order. And we have processes, and we have principles, and we have criterias, and we have measures, we have standards, we have authority in the way that we do this work of beading, and we have that in the way that we do our work of law. And again, they're made with love. And I hope you feel that law needs love. It needs respect, as you talked about. In Anishinaabe, when mana jiduin, we need to go easy on one another when we're in spaces of learning. And we're grateful that you brought that gift to us. And we hope in receiving this gift, you'll take that as our appreciation and also a measure for the kinds of work that we hope to continue to do with you as we weave something new out of something old, to deal with things we've never even contemplated, but that they will bring us joy.
students, elders, guests. We're creating a new oral history here, a new Indigenous story. One of the ways that I understand gifts is that they're in trust of a future relationship. They're a way of investing in that future relationship. And this is a story that begins with the words of Dr. Dick and the courage of Melanie Mark and others that are here. And it's in this spirit that I want to recognize each of you. You've gifted us with your presence in the program, bringing your hopes and bringing your passions. And these small gifts are from Treaty 8. I'm from Soto First Nation. So what you're going to be receiving is some Saskatoon berry jam that my sister drove down from Treaty 8 last week. And so that you have something from our territory, from our lands. And in addition, there are raven cards, 2 raven cards in each of the gifts. And these are kokum ravens. They're trickster ravens who, I understand tricksters to be among the first law teachers. And I'm hoping that she is a part of our journey too, that she will nourish you in the same way as the jam will, with bodies and spirit. And in each gift bag, you have a small gift, a book from one of your classmates, Danielle. And this is entitled Toward a Prairie Atonement, and it's about reconciliation. And so this is another gift that is added to recognize your gifts to us. And it's a way of building our future working relationships. And so thank you so much. Thank you for being here. So my grandson Elijah just handed me this card when he came in, and it's important because it talks about spreading the love. Love spreads and it spreads once you have it. So there you go.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our next opportunity is to recognize the elders with us and ask that you would receive a token of our appreciation for the work that you've done with us and continue to do with us as we are in this program together. My great-great-grandmother and father went to residential school. My grandfather and mother went to Indian Day School. They all had experiences where they were abused. And they were beautiful people and loving people and kind people, but also felt the challenge of that. But they continue to say to us, get all the education that you can. You can carry it with you wherever you go, and no one can steal it from you. And those are the kinds of messages that our elders gave to us in our community. My mother left home when she was in grade 8 to run away from the schools where her brothers and sisters were being sent to. And when she walks into spaces like this, she's now 83, tears fill her eyes because she can't even believe that we live in a day that this is possible. I know that we've talked about our ancestors here. This work is personal, as we've expressed with the students. It's also intergenerational. From the past to the present to the future, we need this work to be able to continue, and it's through the elders that this sort of activity occurs. We have some blankets here that will be gifted, and they're very significant in our tradition. When we do our work, we often stand people on blankets to protect them from the forces that are below that can disturb us and get in the way of the energy that we need to be able to be good in our activities. These blankets also can surround us and create warmth and comfort and welcome. And as we have elders with us, I often feel like we're standing on their shoulders, underneath us, protecting us from many of those things that can be harmful and hurtful. And they've tried to do the best they can to pass on the good and shield all that bad that's below us. And at the same time, we're wrapped in their wisdom and their welcome and their knowledge and their love. And so we're appreciative of you and grateful for who you are and who your family is and who your great-great-great-great-grandma and grandpa are. Miigwech.
It's my honor now to provide gifts or to set out the gifts for the government representatives and officials that are here. And I'd like to ask all of those people to stand, please. And including First Nations politicians and officials, representatives, people would stand. Thank you. So, as leaders, it takes courage to be where you are today. We've talked about courage briefly, and you've demonstrated your courage by supporting us, by supporting this dream, this vision. And in doing so, what you're supporting is Indigenous peoples and our futures. And you're doing this with imagination and foresight and commitment. Thank you for recognizing the central importance of Indigenous law to Indigenous peoples. This is part of creating a new future for us all. And it's not just in Canada, it's beyond. It's way beyond Canada. So this is a step. It's a continuation of the steps that our ancestors have taken and of all of our peoples to restore and rebuild Indigenous law. This is a magical day, and thank you for helping to make this happen. In addition to government officials and representatives and First Nations leaders, we also have Métis leadership that are here, and we also want to make sure that we acknowledge and honor those leaders in this process.
So the work of law is personal, and it's intergenerational, and it's also institutional. And we want to take this opportunity to thank this institution, the University of Victoria, and the Board of Governors in particular, for your leadership and your vision and your guidance in bringing us to this point. When we think about the institutional aspects of law, we often think of courts and legislatures and parliaments, and that certainly is a site of law. But we also find institutionally great application of law in these educational settings. And the day can't pass without me also acknowledging Andrew Petter, who's here as the president of Simon Fraser University. Because when Jeremy and I came back from that beach in 2001, Andrew was the dean. And we brought this idea to Andrew, and his great encouragement was absolutely key in giving us the confidence that we could continue to develop modules and train students and put programs together in a fashion that brings us to this point today. And so I'm very grateful for you, Andrew, and your role in this work, as I'm grateful to the Board of Governors who have been responsive to our deans and our president and those that have come forward to bring this work forward after that fashion. The gifts we have for you are a book that I wrote in 2010, Canada's Indigenous Constitution. And that book began its life in 2005 as a Law Foundation of Canada project, where I talked with Indigenous peoples from coast to coast to coast about the living nature of our traditions. And they shared with me ideas about how they can be brought to the present to help us live in the future. And I tried to record this and then build on that pattern in this book. And in one of those chapters, I propose the Indigenous law degree with the components of that program, its field schools and its classroom elements and its community connections. And so I hope as you take this as our board, that you feel our great and deepest thanks. We say in Anishinaabe, miigwech. We feel that heart from us to you and the work that you've done. So miigwech, thank you to the Board of Governors. If you could stand.
This feels so Giksan, it's wonderful. I just had to say that. So there's an amazing group of people in the room, people who've invested in us and in our dreams, and they've invested in Indigenous law in a significant and major way. So, but before turning to our donors and asking them to stand, I want to just take a tiny moment and acknowledge Jeremy. I know this is going to embarrass you, but there you go. So Jeremy is one of those people who was able to see the central importance of law to Indigenous peoples. When you think about all the ways that law is a part of the world around us, and how it is central to our identities and our ability to be citizens and to operate in this world, he was able to see that that's why Indigenous law is so important to Indigenous peoples. He was able to help us to build over the years, and he's also one of those people who's had absolutely relentless energy. You get emails from him at midnight and all manner of times. And I don't think the man sleeps, but anyway, there you go. So Jeremy, I just want to say thank you for all your amazing support over the years and for your generosity of spirit for helping us to get here. So with the donors, if you would, all the donors for the research unit, the Indigenous Law Research Unit, and for the Indigenous Law Degree JD program, please stand. So you've invested in us, and we're going to take the hope and the support that you have in us and go forward. But thank you for seeing the possibilities and for helping us to change history, to build a new future imaginary. So with your support, along with the students, along with the faculty and the staff, the entire law school, all of us, and with your support, we're able to make the JID, JD real. We'll continue the work of Indigenous law, its teaching and its connections with communities, and we're going to take up the issues and the critical issues of our time in doing that work. Your support is helping to make Indigenous law visible in the world again, so it can take its place among the great legal traditions of the world. I thank you for your foresight and your generosity. Thank you so much.
So part of the opportunity that we have to be doing this work in a proper way is to be continually counseled by the elders, and I'm grateful that we received the reminder that when we're gathered in this place with this work, we need witnesses. And you are present here as witnesses to this event, so that when the future work that has gone on today needs to be referred to, that you would carry that with you. And part of our opportunity is to gather eventually in a few moments around food, where we can pay, as it were, through that. But I want to, in particular, ask a couple of people if they would act as our witnesses for this event as we continue to spread the work that's being done here forward in other ways. And I'm going to call upon three people here to have that role. I'm going to call on a chancellor of the university, Sheila Rogers. I'm going to call on my colleague, Rebecca Johnson, if you'll also come forward. And then I'm going to call on my colleague, Sarah Morales, if you could come forward. And usually you do this. Thank you. I think we have 3 minutes if you want to just briefly come and share your feelings about this moment before we move to the song.
So I will start. My name is Sarah Morales. My Hulkaminam name is Satahuya. I'm Coast Salish, a member of Cowichan tribes. I'm sorry, but I too feel the ancestors close to me. Today, I feel those elders who I sat and spoke with about Indigenous law as I worked through my master's and my PhD research, many of whom are not with us today, but who spoke so strongly about the need to have people to carry this work forward. And one elder in particular, Willie Seymour, who was from Stamanis, would say to me, I often sit here by myself and think about who is going to do this work for us, who is going to carry our laws forward. And he said, it is you. You are going to be the one to do this. But he turned to people who were sitting with me, my family, and said, but she cannot do this alone. She needs support and she needs help. And so I feel him with me today. And I know he is so proud. His heart is filled to see his laws and his protocols lived out in a university setting, receiving the respect that they deserve. And he is here with us and so grateful. I know he'd want me to raise my hands to you, say Haich Kasiyam to all in this room, because you are all part of this work, as has been shared. We will all work together. We will carry this work forward. We will build up our students. And I see a future. My family, too, went to residential school, but I think of my daughter and my son, who are 4 and 1, and think of what a different world and how different education will be for them because of you in this room and your support. And I say, Haichkasiyam.
As I sat this morning watching all of you in this room, I too was struck by this feeling of incredible joy by the energy of the people who are here, all of whom have been sharing in this question of the vision of what it is that we carry forward and the way that we carry it. It's a powerful feeling for me today, looking around the room at all the places where the learning has been necessary and thinking about one of my sort of non-Indigenous sources of knowledge that links to many of the Indigenous ones that I've been privileged to carry, and that is this feeling, the words of Ursula Franklin, that social change will not come to us from the mountain, but it is we, like earthworms, who till the soil, who sow the seeds of thought and dream for future action. And I'm very grateful for those people who have carried the seeds, who have tended the seeds, for those who have tilled the soil, for those who have watered the ground, for those who have waited for the season in which things will grow. And it's a great honor and a privilege to be in this space with the energies of our ancestors and of those who will come after, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, to be reminded that this is the work of all of us and that it's a great honor to sit in this room and to think about the ways in which all of us learn to be citizens of law in the territories in which we live. And so that is one of the things that I'll carry forward with the great privilege of being able to occupy the space of witness for this moment. So Haichkasiyam, thank you for all of your words.
I'm so honored to accept the role of witness. It doesn't escape me that witness is often a legal term as well. But what witnesses do is to stand for truth. And no one can ever deny that this happened today. This was the beginning of something so beautiful and so powerful and so right. Val mentioned the book, A Prairie Atonement, by Trevor Harriott and the great Métis elder Norm Fleury. And I love the word atonement because when you split it up, it can be said as at-one-ment. And I see Chief Bobby Joseph here, who reminded us all through the TRC process and the Walks for Reconciliation that we are all one. And I feel that so strongly today. I also just, the words about the ancestors have been so very, very moving. I think about my Métis ancestors who had to bury their identity because they couldn't be proud of who they were. But I also want to say to everyone in the room something that Commissioner Marie Wilson used to say, and that is that we are the ancestors of tomorrow. And we should conduct ourselves accordingly. And to the students, I want to say, you are who your ancestors want you to be. You're in the right place. And I sure wish I could be chancellor when you cross the stage. Any chance of that, Jamie? But my last thought is this. I'm sorry this is going to bring it down a little bit, but I was thinking about Tina Turner and the song, What's Love Got to Do with It? And I think the answer is everything, because surely the first law was love. So, Heichka to the elders, and thank you for the song.
So there are many people that we've drawn to your attention as we've been through this gifting process together. And it's wonderful to be able to do this work in a way that is a practice of Indigenous law, that we are ourselves not just passive recipients, but in fact able to engage. And the work of law is about diffusing law, not just putting it in courts or parliaments or legislatures, as important as that might be. And so this song is an honor song to the students, and it's an honor song to everyone who has been here today that we've been not able to mention by name or gift, but to know that we are appreciative of the gifts that you've brought to this place. I'm with my colleague Heidi Stark, who teaches in the political science faculty here at the university, and we run a Anishinaabe language table together here at the school. And so it's often on Tuesday nights when we gather and laugh with one another and at one another as we continue to butcher the language. But we have so much fun in picking up that work. And this is one of the songs about the ways that we go with this work, which is gently and carefully in the different directions that we proceed. And so the language is Anishinaabemowin, Algonquian language from the central part of this country, but the message is to go gently, go in those four directions and speak about the things that we've talked about here today.
I think there's not going to be enough Kleenex in the room for the next part of this program. We have a special addition to our program. At their request, the students have asked if they can come to the podium for a few minutes.
This is rather impromptu, and on behalf of all of us in the JID program, we wanted to honor you, Dr. Burrows and Dr. Napoleon, John and Val, for making us part of your dream.
Yes, thank you very much. It's beyond words to be here, and thank you, Kelty, for inviting me to partake in this.
Well, thank you all very much. And this is just about the conclusion of this program. But I would ask now that the doors be opened and the food uncovered. And another very special part of this ceremony, I would like to invite Elder May Sam to come forward and give us the great honor and privilege of blessing the food.
Thank you, Susan. I don't know, do I go here? Or? Either one. Either one, okay. Before I do the blessing, I really want to say Haichka. Haichka to everyone, families that are here, those of you that have traveled far and near to be here today for a very special occasion for our students here. And you know, you're going to think back when you were little. You think of your family, your parents, and they gave you the love and care. The beginning of school, your school days, and all the love that they cradled you with. Remember that. When you go through a hard time, you're going to remember that your family love you, and that'll give you the strength that you need. Haishka. And all of the special guests here, that you really, I'm so happy for each and every one of you here today, the chiefs, our deans, professors, Haishka, and all of your hard work for today. It's so wonderful. And I could go on, but I think we're hungry. I'm going to do the prayer first in my language, which is Halkaminam from Cowichan. And my name is Switstisia, my traditional name from Malahat, where I was born. I'm going to ask the Creator for a blessing, and then I'll translate it to English for you. It means more when I say it in my language first. And the song I'm going to say for you is for you to give you the uplift in your daily work. Every day in your life, day and night, remember that we love you and that we care. Each and every one of my students here. Haishka. And to our elders here, Haishka. Haishka, thanks you guys, Mugskoyo. Haishka. Chunamiks nask man, say to manas, say to Saunders praise, Laurel's day. Masi, Haishka, titel siam, tana ais koil. Zichumi nawasi, lalmat the mug, he titel namat e, tana kach and lilam, he school out, Masi, Haishka. I nawasi, zichumi jesuit, the slickles, the these eyes, Mugskoil, gus me, ewa school out, Haishka, titel siam. Haishka. I praise and I thank the Creator for a beautiful day and a blessing for each and every one here with us today, that you're truly going to bless each and every one here and our students, that you're going to uplift them and give them a helping hand in each and every way. I praise and I thank you. Haishka titel siem. And also to remember for a blessing for the table and the meal that we share, and also for a blessing for those that prepared the meal for us today, and all the hard workers, the cooks today, and to be in this wonderful home in the First People's House. Haishka, Haishka titel siam. V'achach and tamochi tana. School out, Haishka. I praise and I thank the Creator for a blessing for each and every brother and sister and each and every one of our students here, to bless them in each and every way. Bless the meal that we share today. Haishka. Chunamiksnas man say to manas. T. Saunders praise Laurel's day. Haishka.
Thank you so much, my dear. That was wonderful. You're going to lead the elders out in just a second, okay? Thanks. And now we're going to call on Robbie to explain our processional song to leave the hall. And May Sam has agreed that she will lead the elders to lunch. So if you don't mind waiting until the elders are led to lunch. And Robbie, to conclude our ceremony, thank you very much.
Aisquachel Hela, Quathqualenoch, Thanesnach, Ledsinet, Husenich, and Quet and Squelequins, a Tia Squachel, Nu Nith Huayachung, the Squelequins, who at the school out, a Tia Estin, who moke at the school, Tia Estin, Haishquahela, CM, who Nith Huayachung, the Squelequins, who Halis at the Chalangan da the Salhuenla. Chawasant and Eitslachen hook at the South, Mok at the Shwalakwa. I can't go without introducing myself. I'm Robbie Lewis. I'm from Husenich. My traditional name, my identity is Quethqualenoch. I couldn't go without thanking our students this morning, on their keeping alive our birthright, keeping alive our Chalangan, opening up that doorway for our future generations to come to reconcile. And if I could make it so much easier to translate, it would be much more from here. But in the language, I thank you. Thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank all our donors and university and everyone that had a big part in this. Thank you guys for making this possible. In our history, our family, our people were very nomadic. They followed the tides, they followed the fish, they followed the season. And I'd go and visit, our Straits people go right from Klallam up to Lamy. And we would make relations and follow the tides, follow the fish, follow the season. And when we'd be leaving Klallam or we'd be leaving Lamy, they'd sing us a song when we were leaving, just to show that protection, that love, that prayer that we have in hopes that I'll see you again next season. That word we learned in language program, Hayekwa, means I might actually not see you again. When they would go off on canoe and they'd leave again for the season. But, we more modernized it and more like we'll see you. Take care. So as I sing, I pray for your guys' journey